So hi, I'm Elizabeth from Sacred Earth and Storm School, and today I would like to take you on an amazing and magical journey. And what is this journey? This journey is to the land of the ancient Mayans. And where is this land of the ancient Mayans? We know today as Mexico and Guatemala. And these ancient Mayans, what were they about? Why are they so interesting, and what is the relevance of them for us today? So the Mayans appeared quite suddenly. It's quite unusual in terms of their civilization. Many civilizations, take centuries for the civilization to almost emerge. But the Mayans pretty well showed up quite suddenly. And when they left, or when it came to an end, they also left quite mysteriously and relatively suddenly. And we don't really know, they didn't leave a lot of clues behind as to what occurred. So the archaeologists have many theories. Some of them say there were some earth changes, some calamities perhaps with food or with disease. But really at the end of the day we don't know. But what we do know, and what is probably the most important, and I love the sense, there's a sense of mystery with them, because that's what they were about. They had an intelligence that one couldn't quantify in ordinary terms. And perhaps that's a gift for us, as we're moving into a totally different world now, where we're having to rely more on our intuition, on the unseen. We've been moving into going into more like an inner experience of life. It's not so totally focused on the material way of living, the materialistic way of living, I would call it. So the Mayans were incredible mathematicians, astronomers, and probably for me the most interesting is, above all, they were incredible artists. And the artist expression happened in many forms. They did fantastic artwork. Some of the artwork is, for example, this beautiful woven cloth that I've got behind me. That's a very good example of the kind of vibe and patterns that they would use. For me, it's very refined. It's a very refined expression of colors and shapes, and almost like sacred geometry that's incorporated in these patterns, these sacred patterns. And the patterns all emanate from nature, as they always do. So in a while I'll show you also an example of the Inca from Peru, their kind of woven fabrics and shapes. And it'd be interesting for you to see how you experience that. And for me it's quite different. It's similar but quite different. So yes, so they did these beautiful hand-woven, beautiful fabrics. They beautiful decorated their temples. They had amazing architecture. The most amazing expression of this incredible beauty. So beauty was for them a very living force, something that's so vitally important to life. Not just something that's optional or interesting to have. For them it was like food. They knew the value of beauty, how uplifting it would be, the energetic effect of beauty, how that would affect us and our bodies and our state of mind. So beauty, incredibly important. And this in a way is very much linked to the star system that they paid the most attention to. And they also built their temples and pyramids, aligned it to the star system specifically. And that's called the Pleiades. It's also known as the Seven Sisters. And if you look in the night sky, if you know where Orion is, it's just a little bit below Orion. And it's always got a sense of mystery to me, these stars, because I always look at them and think, I see them, but I'm not always quite sure, am I seeing them? And that for me is so much the Mayan mystery, that sense of the intangible, the imagination of going into something so much more, but it's very real. But it's kind of beyond our normal boundaries or the ordinary life that we know. So the Mayans, had many ways of relating to the earth, as I was saying, like the calendar that they had, very interesting. You perhaps know about the Mayan calendar that was supposedly ended in 2012. There is no end to a calendar, it just continues. It's denoting cycles. So it didn't really come to an end, but there was a specific completion of a certain cycle and beginning of another cycle, and so it will carry on. And the cleverness of the Mayans, for me, is that they took very, very spiritual, or how shall I say, energetic concepts, unseen concepts, but they would incorporate it into daily life as a very physical and practical experience. And so, like, the calendar, it's like our calendar. We refer to calendars. It's part of our lives. It's part of every day. You look at or you know what the date is, and you know the day of the week, etc. So, they incorporated all this information, but not just the physical information of what's in our calendar, which is the path of our Earth around the sun. They also incorporated a lot of spiritual concepts and cycles, more subtle cycles from the Earth. So how can we use that today, to have practical things affecting us, or that we use in our daily life, everyday life, that actually encourage us and remind us that we are spiritual beings, and that we are far more than this body. And we love the body. The body is wonderful, and the body is spiritual in itself. But, for us to be reminded that we are far beyond just our name and identity and who we think we are, that we connected to the bigger whole, the web of life, the earth, the stars. We are all of it. We stardust. So the Mayans, they always describe themselves as skywalkers, actually star skywalkers, and that they would have, they've come to Earth to have a physical and an Earth experience. So they never really, how should I say, felt disconnected. They didn't feel disconnected at all from everything. And what if we can do that now? It would be such an amazing, easier way to live. And at this time, we're going through tremendous change and challenge. Some of us have just come out of lockdown. Many of you have experienced that. Many systems and things are falling away. And if you look at the astrology of it, there's such a shift for us. We're going into really stepping into what some call the Aquarian age. Aquarius is linked to the air element, so we having to almost let go of our attachment to living or making the physical, the materialistic, so valuable and the only thing that's real. It's now about new ideas. It's about communication. It's about using intuition. And for me, the Mayans are so aligned to that, because if you look at the fabric, for example, here, you can see that two birds. If you maybe look more closely, they represent two birds. And the Mayans absolutely loved birds. They would depict them everywhere, and I'll show you an example of the architecture of one of the pyramids in a place called Tikal, which is in Guatemala, which I'll also speak about a little bit later. And even the architecture for me has a certain, they look a bit like birds, which may sound funny, but I'll show you and you can see what you think. But the connection to the birds and the air element, and almost this feeling that we can fly. we're on earth, but we don't necessarily have to be so completely earthbound. We can move. And the Mayans were amazing with energy. You know, they could move energy at will, a bit like the shamans in Peru and South America. They had knowledge and information that we can tap into and we can remember. And that's what I would encourage you to, with this listening today. You know, if I can just inspire you to start looking at different things. For example, the Mayans. Do a bit of research, Google it. Maybe you're lucky to go there one day physically, you know, to Mexico and Guatemala. But maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. You can go there in your mind. You can use your imagination. You can tap into so much. And that's part of this shift, once again, of going into the Aquarian age, where we're actually living differently. We're using different opportunities. We're using different tools and gifts and possibilities to create our lives and to create a reality that we call life. So, you know, start to dream, start to think about also the thing of being artistic. Everyone is artistic. You don't have to be able to draw to be artistic. It's a natural impulse in every single human being. We are connected, you know, and creativity is life. We're creating all the time. We don't even realize it. But what if we can start creating beauty and, you know, from a space of what makes us happy and is a contribution to us and to others, and with this harmony and with this kindness and with this what I call the heart. So I've mentioned Tikal in Guatemala. That's what the Mayans called the higher temple. It's a bit, the energy is very high vibrational. They would have the really big ceremonies there of all the tribes. They would go to Tikal. Tikal would be the special place to be, a bit like Machu Picchu in Peru. And also, some of you may be familiar with Diana Cooper. She's called the Angel Lady. She, according to her information and her books, Guatemala is linked to the higher heart. So the higher heart is just above the physical heart, or your heart chakra. It's where your thymus gland is. And it's called the higher heart because the color is a very light, for me, a very light pink, soft pink kind of color or vibration. And it's got that finesse and refinement in it. That's quite unique and different. And once again, when I look at, you know, what the artists have produced, and this is from Guatemala, the women have woven it there, there's this refinement. And also the colors are are softer than, for example, the Inca colors. The Inca colors are far more bright and almost like more earth-based. So the Mayans like blues, light blues, you know, the softer kind of more mauve colors. So if I can just show you, this is, for example, a cloth from the Inca. And if I can just show you, you can maybe look at both of them. There's a lot of similarity, you know, the sacred symbols and stuff like that, different, but you can see there's a connection. But the Inca for me is, far more earth-based, and also they've got these bright colors. This is very Inca, but very beautiful. And you know, the fabrics are such an important aspect of any civilization. And it wasn't just women that actually, you know, did this. The men would do this too, and they still do. And it's really sacred. It's like they're weaving these stories and all this information into the fabrics. So these fabrics are tremendously valuable as informations. It's almost like the hieroglyphs that they have on the temples in Egypt. You know, for the South America, the Inca and the Maya, they would record it very much often in their fabrics. So in the one of the Mayan cities in Mexico, very famous Palenque, it's also very beautiful, where they have the Palace of Inscriptions. There are some inscriptions of the Mayan language, so you do get that at certain places. But as I say, a lot of the history or the information they've actually put into the kind of artworks, as it were, and also the way they built their temples, etc. I'll talk about that also a little bit later. So yes, to be able to connect with nature in 2020. So when I go to Mexico or Guatemala, there is this incredible feeling that I have often if I just sit there silently or just, walk around when I go with groups. Sometimes it's a very powerful emotion that I get, or I get certain kind of almost ideas or thoughts or inspirations. And this is to do with almost like the information that's anchored there at these sacred temples and pyramids. And the earth there, the earth holds memory there of these people that lived there. They lived a living reality, and they left that behind, and it's available to us. So you can receive that, you and your body can receive that by just asking the earth or being willing to do that, and to make your life easier, as you are now. Because we're going back to a more sustainable planet, and growing within ourselves, and receiving new information and new tools. So what will it take for us to do that? And the Mayans, all these civilizations, have such an amazing gift for us to receive. And perhaps you're drawn to it also for some reason. I certainly know that I have had many past lives in that. Some people may call it just a collective memory. It doesn't matter how you relate to it, but there may be a feeling that, oh, I know this, or this feels familiar to me, or I feel really happy when I'm there. So what I'm wearing around my neck is also one of these ceremonial pieces. That this is also from Guatemala. So clothing can also bring back memories or connect you to it. So there are lots of different ways of doing it. So let me take you to this most amazing place called Tikal. That's Tikal. And this is this ancient Mayan city that's in Guatemala. It's in northern Guatemala, and it's now an actual nature reserve, so it's totally protected. And what a beautiful thing that we've got right as a human race in 2020. We still have these places that are beautifully preserved. So I'm going to show you the architecture of one of the most important pyramids there. But before I just want you to imagine, it's like I'm standing and I'm just thinking about this. This is one of the most beautiful memories I have of Tikal. It's like I'm standing at the entrance of this massive park. It's like a few miles, kilometers big. And it's totally in the jungle. Very, very massive trees. But at the entrance is like this guardian tree that is so tall and so magnificent. And then as you're walking into the city, you hear all these monkeys, and they're specific monkeys that they need a huge amount of territory to go every day. So they travel like kilometers up in the trees in the jungle. And these monkeys, you can hear them, the sounds of them, and you almost, because now unfortunately there are not that many left, but you can almost imagine you can hear the jaguars, the black, beautiful, sleek cats with the beautiful eyes that the Mayans also communicated with, and were their power animals, and they also revered in a way for knowing that these animals are quite profound and linked to many, many aspects of life. And you can almost imagine, you can hear the roar of the jaguar somewhere, you know, it's also there lurking in the jungle, the black jaguar. So let me show you a picture of Tikal. So Tikal, as I said, is the high temple of, of the Mayans. And what you'll see here is it's in the forecourt in the central area where they would have all their ceremonies. And if I can just give you the scale, if you can see where my finger is there, that's actually the size of a human. And these are all the stairs going up, and then you get the top of the pyramid. Now the top of the pyramid, this is what I wanted to show you, is for me that almost reminds me of a bird's head, and these are kind of the feathers sticking up or something like that. But there's something quite bird-like for me about the architecture, and I'm not sure if you maybe think that or not. Anyway, that's an interesting thing. Here you've got the stepped pyramid with all that's terraced, and they are totally mathematically, astronomically connected. And what they show is the evolution of us humans, of humankind. And as I say, it's absolutely mathematically correctly built and constructed. Absolutely incredible. And then if you have a look at the top, at the back, there's like pyramid number 4, they call it. And this is actually the pyramid where you can sit in the morning and they would welcome the sun. So you'd sit at the top of the pyramid and look down. And it's the most incredible feeling because the jungle is actually this level. It's here you're in the forecourt where the jungle is kind of, not existent or been taken away. But that's actually the level of the jungle. So you can imagine how high these trees are. And as you're sitting on Pyramid 4, you literally looking down on these high trees, the jungle, and the jungle is like a canopy of just green that you're looking down on. It's the most beautiful, amazing. So this is a place that's dedicated and run by nature. Nature is in control here. Nature is the boss. Nature is, what it's all about. And they would construct these temples and structures, to mirror nature, to interact with nature, to communicate with nature. And this is where they lived. This is how they, were in communion with the earth. Amazing. An amazing example of, just what's possible, of being able to be so connected to the earth and to work with her and to enhance everything that we can create with her. Amazing. So I would like to take you on a journey within a journey. And this is a very short meditation or contemplation, however you would like to put it, to help you to feel, to show you, just give you a little glimpse of how you can travel in your so-called imagination and connect with incredible places and incredible realities and timelines that we call the past, but that is so very much alive still, and willing to, the earth holds, and the earth would love to contribute to us so that we can become stronger, we can become inspired, we can start to create our contribution. Can you imagine in like 3,000 years time, perhaps whoever is then living on this planet, human beings, they would look back at us and they'd go, wow, look what they created. Now, isn't that a beautiful challenge that we can actually do, that we can create something that is a contribution, because every time has its own contribution, and we're totally capable of doing that. We will just do it in a different way. But, you know, how can we create? How can we be creative? How can we enhance life instead of working against life, or be so self-focused that we forget that we're here to actually enjoy life, enjoy the beauty, and be connected to each other. So I would love to help you to imagine. Let's go on a beautiful journey. And you know, the Mayans, those of you who know about sacred plant medicine, the Mayans used, with incredible sacredness, plant medicine with mushrooms mainly. And they would use it, the high priest and priestesses would use it for to get almost connected and get information, dream and travel to the stars, they called it, all kinds of different things. But you don't need that. All you need is your imagination, and you have that. So you have it all. So let's use our imagination, and let's travel to the land of the Maya now, in terms of experiencing and receiving from that civilization and the earth there, because it's so beautiful and it's so ready and so willing and so loving and kind, and the earth so would like to contribute to us. So you can just sit for a moment as you there, and just imagine that you're actually in this beautiful earth temple called Tikal in northern Guatemala. And perhaps it's pitch dark, but you don't feel afraid at all. It's beautiful, it's quiet. And it's that time just before sunrise, when it almost seems to be darker than it is at night. That intensity of the darkness before the light comes. And you imagine that you're sitting, perhaps you have a cloth around you, like a poncho, or something wrapped around you that keeps you nice and warm. It's early morning, and you are sitting on Pyramid 4, the top of Pyramid 4, and you're looking out, but it's still dark, but you know that you're looking out over this vast expanse, and it's almost as if you are sitting in the clouds. These pyramids are so high that they're virtually reaching up to the clouds. Beautiful, beautiful white clouds of the jungle that so often are there. And then you're taking your attention to your heart, and just feel the energy of your higher heart, which is the top of your chest in the middle. And as you're taking your attention to your higher heart, for a moment you go within and you just reflect. You just feel this beautiful sense of silence, of beauty within you, of connection within you, of knowing that everything is really inside of you. You are not inside of everything else. Everything else is inside of you. And now imagine that there is sound. There's this most beautiful sound, and that sound is calling. It's calling the sun. It's announcing the sun. And as that sound starts, you can start to hear the birds, because the birds are always the first ones to announce that the sun is coming. And perhaps you can hear them starting to sing or wake up. And they're calling each other. And you're starting to feel this jungle starting to wake up. And the jungle is starting to get alive. And the trees are alive. And the monkeys are starting to wake up. and the jaguar is starting to go home. It's done its duty. It's been the guardian of the night, but now it is time for the day. And the day is where everything can happen in the light. And then perhaps as you see the first rays of the sun, you imagine that in your third eye, the area between your eyebrows, you can move and you're greeting and you're going out to greet the sun. You become the sun and the sun becomes you. You go out into the sun and the sun comes into you. And you feel your whole body totally lit up by the sun. It's like this beautiful, beautiful golden color. It's like the sun has transformed you into pure gold. And you're sitting on the top of Pyramid 4 in Tikal. And you are completely and utterly connected. And you can feel your heart waking up as the jungle is waking up, as everything, as life is starting to become active. You can feel yourself becoming active, your heart becoming active. And as you open your eyes and you look around, you see that you are surrounded by so many others who have also been sitting there in silence without you knowing, in the dark. But they are with you and they're sitting with you on this beautiful, beautiful pyramid in the morning sun. And then you imagine that you know that it's time for you to go down back into the world. You've been sitting up, high up in the clouds, but now it's time for you to go down into the world. And now it's time for you to start living this life and this day that the sun has brought to you in the most amazing and miraculous way. And so very slowly, you're starting to go step by step by step, these many, many, maybe it's a few hundred steps that you need to step and climb down. And you're doing it with absolute joy in your heart. It's like a singing heart of happiness and pleasure and fun. And you're walking down, and it's so easy for you to walk down. It's almost as if you're floating down, because you know this so well. This is so easy. These steps are so secure. But you're going deeper and deeper and down. And you're going to go down where you get to the ground. And as you put your feet onto the ground of Mother Earth, you feel her greeting you too and saying, "Welcome, my child. Welcome. You home." And perhaps you can imagine that you're walking down and you're seeing, walking in between the beautiful foliage, the trees. And perhaps there's a special place that you can go to. And this is the place where everyone else is gathered. Maybe this is a place where all the children are. Perhaps this is a place where you can do your beautiful art. Perhaps this is a place where you work in the land. Perhaps this is a place where you just can go and sit and be with others. It's like you're stepping into the life of that day with all the people of your tribe and your community. And so just to bring yourself very gently back and to bring it into your heart, this beautiful feeling, or maybe you have an image of this, of where you've been. And it's like a beautiful painting that's alive, and you're putting it into your heart, and it's there forever. And it's there to inspire you. It's there to remind you that you are creative, you're amazing, You are clever. And you have everything you require to create an amazing life and an amazing new world. So as you're feeling this beautiful connection, perhaps you can imagine the Maya, their beautiful temples, their beautiful artwork. And just for a moment, you can send this amazing gratitude to that incredible civilization that once lived, that left behind all these monuments, that's really there to remind us of what's possible. And what else can we create? What else is there for us to do as we're here in 2020? Perhaps we can feel really sad and upset and fearful about what we've lost or what we seem to lose. Or perhaps we can step into another universe where there is just kindness and hope and there's incredible capacity to create. And which one are you going to choose? I'm choosing the new world. And yes, perhaps one day you can join me when I go back to Mexico and Guatemala. Or maybe you can join me online. Maybe one day we can physically meet, or perhaps one day we can just have a chat on social media, whatever. I hope that this has been interesting for you. If you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like to discuss further, or if you want to find out about what I do, you're most welcome to contact me. I'm on all the social media. I'm on Facebook under Elizabeth Bardin. That's Elizabeth with a Z, and Bardin, Bardin. I live in Pringle Bay in South Africa, so that's easy to find me. I also have a page called Sacred Earth. I have a Facebook page called Sacred Earth and Storm School, and I'm also on Instagram, and it's the name is Elizabeth Bardin Sacred Earth. So I wish you well, and I trust that yes, let's create a heart-connected world and an earth-connected world too. Lots of love, Elizabeth.